Hey everyone, a third and final one from me this week. We're in Acts chapter 6. I'm really just going to focus on the first part of it, which is to do with a very practical problem that the church faces. We'll get on to Stephen more as we go into the next chapter, so I'll leave that for the next person. But, let's think about this practical problem. It's very easy to imagine, especially when we see such fruitfulness in the early church. It's easy to imagine that the church was just this idyllic place, that everything went really well. Jesus was saving people and there was great unity and everything was perfect. Well, from the Acts summary of it, of course it's going to pick out those highlights, but here's an example of something where there was a problem. And we can expect in every church there will be problems, there will be issues, because the church is full of broken people like you and me, and we don't always get along with one another, we don't always love and serve one another in the way that we should, and that's why we are all here needing Jesus. But let's think about this problem that they faced and how they found a solution to it. There's certainly an aspect of racial, ethnic tension here. It talks about two kind of groups of people, one that was left out by the others, and it seems that there might have been preferential treatment happening here. That happens in the church. What we are also seeing is that the solution that they found to this problem was not just one that the apostles or the disciples brought about. In fact, everyone was involved. It actually says, therefore, brothers, pick out from among you 7 men. So the apostles recognize, firstly, they recognize that there is an issue. Don't pretend that there's not. They recognize there is an issue, but then they involve the community in saying, well, we need a solution to this, and that's going to involve everyone. And so they say, set aside people to be addressing this particularly. So they're honest with about the problem. They work with leaders to find a solution, and that solution is ultimately to do with service. That was the answer. Love and service. What does this mean for us then? Well, firstly, I think one of the applications would be to expect difficulties in church life. Whether that's in your small group, whether that's happening on a Sunday, whether it's something that the elders or leaders do or say that doesn't chime well with you. We are going to disappoint one another. We're not going to get things right in our community here at Emmanuel. So the first thing I want to say is come to expect that. If it happens in the Bible, it is going to happen with us. Let's not be naive about that. But what we can see from this passage is the best way to address that is to step towards the problem. Not imagine that the problem doesn't exist, but to recognize, obviously, this group that was said, this is not right, these things are not, they were obviously listened to. They were obviously heard. What they raised was obviously taken seriously. And that is the way of Jesus, to be patient with one another, to hear each other out, to show love to one another, to listen, whether we completely understand or not, or we think it's a problem. No, let's seek to understand one another better. But also there's an ownership of the whole community of the problem. So that's the next application, I suppose. If someone has a complaint, if someone is struggling with something in church or in church life, it's important we just don't treat that as someone else's problem. No, Jesus has brought us together to be a family, to be brothers and sisters in Christ. Someone else's problem is our problem too, and we should step towards that and not just dismiss it and be dismissive of it. And then thirdly, the way forward for all of us to navigate through these disagreements and disappointments that come up will involve love and service. And that's not easy to do. And we all have to find capacity in our lives to love and care for others, to be patient with others, to listen to others' struggles, just as we would like to be listened to if we were struggling with someone. That is the way of Jesus. That is the way that the gospel teaches us to relate to one another. Not just think of ourselves as individuals and what I care about is all that's important. No, but to bear one another's burdens and step towards others, especially if there's disagreement or things are not going well relationally. I mean, think about how this situation could have gone. The Hellenists had a problem with the Hebrews, and so they grumbled amongst themselves and decided not to talk to that other group. That's a tempting way that it could have gone, I'm sure. And we're all tempted to that. We annoyed with someone or something didn't go quite the way we wanted to go. We internalize it, we grumble about it, and we don't address it with them. No. That's not the way of Jesus. It might be tempting, but it's not loving. It's not loving to our whether that's a friend, whether it's a colleague, whether it's someone in the church, whether it's a family member. When things are not going right, Jesus invites us to step forward in humility, adopt a posture of humility to find a way, how can I love this person? How can I understand what they're going through? How can I serve as a way to bring about healing in this relationship? That's the way of Jesus. He served. He laid down his life. He washed his disciples' feet. His way is love and service. And so we need to apply that not just when things are going great, but when things are difficult as well. And hopefully that is an encouragement to you. And so let's follow in the way of Jesus in loving, listening to, and serving one another.